Fires a long one.
Oh,
Nothing but net. Oh, my goodness. Didn't see that coming. I'm diddly dee.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode and very special edition of All Nat, brought to you by OTS. I'm your host, Natalie, but most people call me Nat, and I'm here with a friend of the show, Justin, my GoldenSpaces co-host. You've heard him on here before, former hooper, also a personal trainer, or not. What is it? You're a trainer, but is it personal, or what kind of training is it that you do? Is that right?
Yeah, I do personal training.
Yeah, I'm maybe gonna hire Justin one day, but I'm a little nervous about that. But most importantly, his hoop knowledge is amazing. And so I always love it when he joins me as a guest on the show. So let me tell y'all about what happened, right? So Justin and I and Mark Edwards, Jordan Poole's trainer, recorded this dope pod yesterday. Was it yesterday? And it was going to drop this morning. But Draymond and Jordan Poole decided that they wanted to act like they don't have any sense. And maybe it was really more Dre, whoever. I don't know. We're going to talk about it. But I could no longer drop that episode because y'all would have been like, Nat, you just going to like drop a Poole episode and not talk at all about the altercation. So Justin and I got back together to like get into it a little bit. And so we're going to talk about it. And then after this segment is over, it's going to go into the actual show that we did record. So it's going to be different clothes, just want to explain to y'all why it is the way that it is for those watching on video. If you're listening in audio, you probably don't care that much. But yeah, like it's two shows sort of combined into one. So let's get into it. I actually fell asleep early last night because I don't know, I'm old. And so I fell asleep early and I woke up like around, I don't know, 11, I think shortly before midnight. And like, you know, the society we're in now, we all just like check our phones. So like I wake up, I check my phone. It's the first thing I do. Right. And I see like ESP headlines about like Draymond and Poole. And I was like, what the fuck, yo? Like, what is this? And so now I'm like going to the TL to try to like get the deets and find out what happened. And I don't know. How did you first hear about it, Justin?
Same way you did, just randomly checking the phone, and then just seeing, I believe it was Shams or Shams who tweeted something first about it. And at first I saw something like, whenever I mean, because I have his notifications turned on, like Woj and Shams.
Yep.
So once I see something like Warriors in the body of their tweet,
right,
I like open it and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Did they sign somebody? Did they,
right?
And then I read what it actually is, and I'm like, there's no way. Like the vibes were so on point, like from June to now, it's like, we about to repeat, everybody's getting paid, like we're chilling, we're good. And then it's like,
yeah,
out of nowhere, like what the
Japan games was a vibe, right? Like it was all vibes over there.
Exactly. I'm like looking at the other franchises, like Phoenix is cooked, like Brooklyn got some stuff they want to work out. LA's got a weird vibe to them, and now it's like we might be in a weirder situation than all of those franchises at this point now. At least for the near future, it's going to be weird, but
for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously I was not expecting that kind of news, but I don't know. I don't think I sort of have like the viewpoint that I see a lot of people have. Or maybe they, you know what? I don't even want to speak for people, but I feel like with Draymond, it's become a thing now. Like anytime something happens, it's like, oh, well, that's Dre. Or it's it was not that big of a deal. People, people fight, they do this. Like, it was funny because I saw that like Monty, what's his name? Monty
Poole?
Yes. He he had this tweet, and it was just so funny to me because he was like, in the tweet, not so much an altercation as two-way yelling that climaxed with a blow to the face head. Yelling was not a very big deal. Escalation by Draymond was a very big deal. I'm like, is that not the exact definition of altercation? Like, I don't, well, what is this damage control you're trying to do?
Right.
And I just feel like this is done a lot with Dre. Um, and I personally thought like the Draymond, there's two things that I watch that like I'm like sort of Natalie monitoring on her own. One of them is like it was Draymond and Poole, because like when they had that little, on the side, like where were they, on the bench or whatever, like do you remember they like had that little back and forth, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's no big deal, that happens with teammates all the time. And I hear you. But like I just Poole does not strike me like as the kind of person, like he's not gonna back down to Dre, right? Like I feel like, because you can see the times when like Dre is sort of like annoying Steph and he's just like, all right, chill, right? And like I feel like him and Clay are more like, all right, whatever, yo, and just like ignore him sort of. But Poole is gonna talk back. Like he's gonna be like, yeah, fuck you, nigga, or whatever he's gonna say, But
Yeah.
he's gonna speak back. And I feel like the culture around the team has been created that like Dre can kind of operate a certain way. And I feel like almost like Jordan Poole challenges that on some level.
Yeah.
And though it's just, I don't know, it's just like observations. It's not like really from anyone's reporting or anything. So when that happened last year, I'm just like, you know, Dre wears on people, and we have to acknowledge that as a fan base. Like, yeah, it's great. We love his passion and like the defense and all of that, but like his personality can like definitely wear on a person.
hmm Yeah, for sure. I mean, they said even Jordan coming in on the team being drafted, he's been a person that talks trash like to anybody. There's a story that came out over the summer about Dame saying how Jordan was talking trash to him even in preseason or something like that, and he ain't even earned the stripes yet at that point. And Draymond said, yeah, he just talks. That's how he's wired. And I mean, along with the reports just came with the notion that they kind of do this often. It just never escalates to this point. So, I mean, I agree totally. Just you never really see Draymond challenging Steph in certain ways. Like, you never really see him like really barking at Steph, like, because
Right.
he understands, Steph's probably not going to respond really like to that. And he understands the hierarchy of the team. And Clay is just like, dude, like, I don't. Like that one story they're talking about, like where he told Clay to pass the ball, and he's like, "Dre, they pay me to shoot the ball," or something like that.
Right.
He comebacks like that. But like you said, Jordan is the opposite of that, where he's gonna say stuff back. And I feel like they're just both of their personalities, they just kind of clash a little bit, but they also intertwine in a way, like they feed off each other. And I think they just they towed that line a little bit too close and tipped in the wrong direction. Um, and I've been a part of a few teams. It happens. Like I've been a part of teams where my teammates have fought each other and stuff, and they just, it gets over it. But when money's involved, it does get a little bit weirder. And when it's at that level, the NBA level, when there's media involved and stuff like that, it can definitely escalate beyond what it should be. So I guess we just got to wait and see what the punishment is and what happens after that.
Yeah, so I mean, I know people would like this to like go away quickly. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, like the team is gonna say, like, look, we're good. And we know the Warriors, I know they hate this because in general they are a team that like does not reveal a lot. They like don't let things out. And so they're going to very quickly make it seem like, oh yeah, everything is good.
Mhm.
But um media, they're just going to ask because that's what they do. Or anytime now something happens on the court or on the sideline, it's just going to be magnified. It's going to be like, well, like Draymond and Poole have this history, and like Draymond and like, and then it's gonna go back to like, I mean, well, look, remember him and KD. He's the reason KD left. He ran like,
Mhm.
I think it's going to be like an underlying thing all season. I really do.
And I mean, it I think it may not be, only because they from the KD situation, they took that same route that you're saying, where they were like, "Oh, it's nothing." Like I remember Clay saying, like, "This is going to be like," he made some type of joke, like, "This is going to be like behind us, like braids or something like that." He made a joke about it, and everybody was like, "I don't know," and then they just try to brush it off. Where today, there's a few quotes from Myers saying like, "Yeah, like it might take some time." No, not it may not might take some time, but he's saying like Draymond knows he has to like re-earn the respect of the team and Jordan and stuff like that. He said something along those lines.
Okay.
That's like, yeah, I'll take it upon myself to make sure the situation doesn't make or break us. I think they're kind of acknowledging like the magnitude of the situation rather than brushing it under the rug a little bit more so, rather than the KD thing.
That's
Um, and,
good.
and I think them doing that can kind of accelerate the process of, I guess, healing, whatever it is. And I think they leaked it on purpose to put pressure on Dre to say, look, like, you were in the wrong, and we're going to let everybody know you were in the wrong. And it's up to you to, make things right, because we're not fucking around with this anymore. Like, you're too old for this. You caused this whole thing. So you need to make it right. And we're going to make this a public thing. So it can go one way or the other, though.
Yeah, thank you for that. I didn't. So guys, like forgive me. I've been working all day. Working because I'm leaving my job. So, but more to come on that and what's next for me. But so I haven't been able to like check out what's happened. I see all the damn alerts going off and I'm like, ah, this is like the worst day for me to like be in the office of all places. Because sometimes I work from home, but I went in. So that I heard that Myers made comments. I knew that Steph had, but I was like, I really need to like check it out and see what they're saying. Interestingly enough, though, and I don't know if this is like people just speculating or based off of like what was actually said, but people seem to like we're saying that like Steph and Bob, whatever, like they didn't like kind of like this narrative, I guess, trying to like come out about Jordan, like that he was acting different or his behavior or something like that. Like we saw Andre respond to that last night. And I sort of think it's funny because like we know who reported that. And I'm like, we're like, where do y'all think that came from? I
Exactly.
mean, I think we all know where it came from. And so I guess what I'm saying is I kind of wonder like more about that. Like, how does that play over? Because like you have something like that come out and you have someone like Chris Haynes reporting it, right? And just to be clear, because like I'm sort of being vague, but I don't, Chris Haynes kind of like came out and said that Jordan, like players feel like Poole has been acting like his behavior has changed a little bit, or
Mm.
like he's acting different. And so that's sort of like what led to this. And we're like, what do you mean he's acting different? Because everything we know of Jordan Poole is like, yeah, he's cocky, he talks shit. That's not like anything new. So, and when we saw who was reporting it, it was like, yeah, we know where this side of the story is coming from. And so I guess my point is like, again, I'm making some assumptions, but not only am I like, look, it's coming from Clutch, right? And Draymond, you're Clutch. So like I mean, like I don't think he can take the person like I had nothing to do with that. Like even if he really had nothing to do with it, like in terms of like saying it, like you can control that on some level, right? Like what's coming out about your teammates. So I just found that to be really, I don't know, that was concerning to me that like that kind of report came out. And I get it, like you trying to save face for Dre, but like by throwing Jordan under the bus, like I didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. And I don't think anyone in the Warriors org liked it either. It was definitely like clutch damage control. And they made sure to like shut that down, you know, convincingly with their interviews after the practice today. So it was good to see that. But it's definitely a little concerning because in a certain way, it's kind of like not they're ganging up on Draymond, but it's like they're kind of taking Jordan's side, which in this situation, Draymond was in the wrong. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter how much they're barking at each other. If you're the one that throws a blow, especially being the veteran on the team, especially being a guy that's 10 years, 9 years his senior, understanding, you know, where he's at mentally, he shouldn't be as mature as you are at this age. You know what I mean? So like you being the one that takes it to that level, you should accept all the blame and there shouldn't be any damage control on your end from your camp anyway. You know what I mean? So I think ultimately he definitely learns from this one. This one is probably a little bit different than the previous instances where his quote unquote antics have like stirred up the pot in the within the organization. So hopefully this is the last time that we hear about it. But yeah, it's a little, you never know with how the media works. He's a media himself, so looking forward to his next pod for sure.
Yeah, the fan base seems to be divided on this. Like,
They've always been divided on Draymond.
always, or do you feel like it's like more like in the last couple of years? Definitely like him going to clutch changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
I feel like despite what happened in 2016, a lot of the fan base still kind of like embraced him after that, like with open arms. But then I think when certain things continue, that's where people are like, yo, you like you cost us in 2016. You know, some people think that. I'm just saying, you know, it's like what I said he wears on people, right? It's like it's always something with you, Dre. It's always something. And it's like at some point it can't just be this like, oh, that's Dre, you know, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to think, to be honest, but I just know that first of all, I was highly annoyed that they couldn't just have done that shit a little bit earlier before when we recorded. So I didn't have to like do another
right.
so I was mad about that. And then, you know, no, but no, in all seriousness, I really did not like the Jordan Poole like trying to like disparage him. I did not like that.
Yeah, me neither. He's been nothing but a high character, you know, man since he came in the league. You know, he's like you said, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's very cocky, confident in his abilities, and it's warranted because he backs up his like confidence with the work. You know, everybody talks about how he's the hardest worker on the team. He's taken himself from one of the worst players in the league to one of the best players in the league, depending on where your cutoff is for determining who the best players in the league is, but he's probably somewhere within the top 50, 60, you know, maybe higher. So he's deserving of the money that he's probably about to get. He's worked for it. And, you know,
Definitely worked for it.
exactly.
Definitely worked for it.
And according to the coaches, the front office, the best player on the team, the vet who talks to everybody on the team, his attitude has not changed. So that whole thing coming out was just super weird. It was kind of out of left field, and it seemed like an attempt to make the situation bigger than it should have been. And I think it succeeded in that, which is the most annoying part for me, really.
For sure. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I hear a lot of people like, oh, this is not that deep. And I don't know. Part of this is probably because like I go to therapy. I've been going to therapy for like, I don't even know now, at least 3 years. And so I'm a huge advocate of therapy, mental health, y'all. And you know, like I remember when like the Richard Sherman thing happened, like when he went to like his wife's, right? Was she still married? Were they still married? His partner's, I think it's his wife, but like he was like banging on the door and drunk and like whatever happened, and they called the police and people were just like, this is not that big of a deal. Like this happens in families all the time. I'm like, what kind of families y'all got? What do you like? Okay. And like I understand that every family is different. And that's not to say like shit has not gone down in my family. But like I need us like as a people to just stop like saying dysfunction is like normal and it happens. Like there's one thing to say like this happens, great, but like it shouldn't happen.
Right.
It's an issue, and I'd like to talk about it like that. Like it is not okay. Like as much as I was not like the biggest, supporter of when Kevin Durant joined the team, it's not okay for Draymond to say to him like you're a bitch or call him like whatever names that he called him, right? It is not okay to punch Jordan. It is not okay to get yourself kicked out of games, right? Like these are things that are not okay. And so I just, you know, I just feel like we need to keep having more conversations around this stuff because I get tired of people saying like, "Oh yeah, this is like normal stuff." No, no, no. It should not be though. Like, let's not normalize like,
Right.
like these are not things we should normalize. We should look to have healthier relationships, like learn to communicate better, And I'm saying this as someone who like I struggle with communication. Like some people can think I'm rude, they can think I'm condescending, like my tone is not always okay. So like I'm not saying this like I got it perfect, but like I recognize in myself there are things that I like need to work on and fix. And I would just prefer that we stop like kind of glorifying or not glorifying, but like just like dismissing behavior that is not like, appropriate. And so I don't know. And I think with Dre, I think that the team tolerated more when he was like Dre, who was DPOY, he was giving you some offense, like
Mm.
he's still a valuable player, but like he's like at the back end of his prime, he's in decline. Like, you know, like there's going to come a point in time that like Jordan Poole is going to be the more important player to the team than him. And like I don't know how well. Like, I also wonder this a little bit about Clay, though I don't think Clay would ever like sort of react the way Dre does. But I just wonder, and I mean, I think we touched on this a little bit, like I want to say in what we recorded yesterday, but it's going to actually follow in the next segment. But we just talked about like the kind of the changing of the guard on the team and like Dre definitely, but I also sometimes wonder about like Clay. Like, are they like it was always like Steph, Clay, and Dre, and Steph is going to remain, and they're at some point gonna like, you know, the youth will take over at least in the vision of like management, and
Yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna be able to wrap their heads around that, because like you're not just gonna always be like you're Dre and you're so important to the franchise, but like there's just gonna become a time where like where you rank is gonna change.
For sure. And I think having, like I was speaking to when we recorded yesterday, having a coach who's been there in these situations before in these dynastic franchises like the Bulls and the Spurs, even though the Bulls didn't really have that type of dynamic where MJ just stayed as the top dog and then Scotty kind of, declined because Scotty came in after him and he didn't, have like his prime extended after Michael Jordan retired. But with the Spurs, it was Tim. He came in immediately, and then David Robinson kind of fell to the background, and then Manu and TP came up, under him. But Tim was still the guy late into his prime and then after his prime, and then other guys kind of swapped in and swapped out. Who was number two? Who was number one guy? So I think Kerr being around a franchise like that, he understands, like, I guess, how to manage that. But it all comes down to them on an individual level. Like Draymond, is he willing to accept that?
Right. Like those guys don't have personalities like Draymond, like,
and
and I think that's
Clay,
important.
yeah, that's definitely important. I think Clay is just all about the vibes. Like he obviously is a very confident guy and he's very prideful in what he brings to the table. He understands, which is why he keeps mentioning his 3-point rating on 2K and stuff like that. So he definitely has some pride, but I think he also understands like situations like this are not common. His dad played in the NBA for championship teams. He, he understands like how the timeline of the NBA goes. So I think he'll have an easier time kind of not fading into the background, but letting Jordan kind of ascend into his own stardom while Clay's still a part of the team. And I think as long as they do that, at least in the eyes of everybody else or the casual fan, it's still going to be Steph, Clay, and Drake because they were there from the beginning, and hopefully they'll all be there to the end. So it's still going to be their name stamped on the franchise. But like you said, it's with Dre, his personality is different, so he might not be necessarily as okay with that as other guys in the past. But
yeah,
we'll see.
I guess
But
only time will tell, right?
yeah, and I mean, right now, there's really no one in line and within the next 1 to 2 years to take Dre's spot. He's what he brings to the table as far as his defensive IQ and quarterback in the defense. He's way far ahead, or at least the guys that are behind him, Kuminga, Wiseman, they're not ready to take on that role within the next 2 to 3 years, right? Maybe if they make an unprecedented leap or like an unforeseen leap, but Dre's spot is secure right now. Like I don't, he doesn't need to worry about that. I guess he's just worried about money or something. But there's nobody that can replace him at the current moment, so he doesn't really need to worry about fading into the background like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, Justin, thank you for hopping on with me. You guys should stay tuned and keep watching because this is not the end. So if you need to take a little break, you can come back. But we had a great conversation with Mark Edwards. He trains many NBA players, including Jordan Poole. And so you should stay tuned and continue to watch that and find out about like what Mark expects for this season, some of Jordan's goals. Just a really, really, really great conversation. So thank you for tuning in. The episode's a little longer this week. It's sort of like a 2-part in one, but we would be derelict in our duties if we didn't talk about Dre and Poole. So thank you for listening. Like I said, stay tuned for the next episode. There's a special announcement as well. So you should definitely stay tuned so you can hear what that is. And yeah, I'm gonna just stop now because and let you get to the next part. Later, guys. I have 2 very special guests on the show today. Justin Grant, as you all know, he's been on many times before and is a friend of the show. And I have, I'm going to probably forget, so I'm just going to say it now at the beginning. But Justin and I have decided to host a podcast together. So details and news about that will be coming soon, but you guys should start getting used to seeing us together. So Justin's joining me today, and I'm so happy to have him on as always, and that we're going to be collaborating. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you. It's always fun, always a good time. So definitely looking forward to everything we got going on in the future as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then last but not least is Mark Edwards, who goes by, or who many people call him Sifu. But on this show, we're going to call him Mark because I like to use names that your mama gave you. And if you don't know Mark, he is notorious for training many, many, many NBA players and other players, including our very own Jordan Poole. So we're so excited to have you on today, Mark, and to dig into NBA, Warriors, Jordan Poole, wherever the discussion leads us. But thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. You're so formal.
It's funny. It's crazy because growing up, like hooping and stuff, you definitely like go on YouTube and you watch like all the up and coming players and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure like at least 75 to 80% of hoopers coming up around my age were watching like the Antonio Blakeney like Be Great series on YouTube. And he was on there and I was like, dang, he looks familiar. But now I definitely recognize you from training a Blake coming up. So that's pretty cool to be able to be on a podcast with you at this point.
Yeah. He one of my best friends. His name is Steve Reese. He runs the he was running the Each One Teach One AAU program, EYBL program back then. Now they call it Florida Rebels. But I was rocking with Antonio since he was like a freshman in high school. So just going into that season, his senior year, we decided I was going to go out there every week and really do some work with him. And it culminated in his first game having like 65 points or whatever. So it was crazy. I was with him for a while. So no, that was fun. That was fun.
Cool. Can you tell the listeners a little bit, just like, how did you just give us a little bit about your background? Because like I know what you do, but how did you even get here to start doing this? And also, can you tell us about like just some of the players you've worked with, who the listeners might know or have heard of?
Okay.
Go
Well,
ahead. The stage is yours.
um, basketball became a passion of mine when I realized that in New York City, people really didn't care much about football. So at 13, I remember scoring like 28 touchdowns in junior high or whatever, receiving, and nobody cared. You know what I'm saying? So basketball became a thing. As I walked from the basketball courts I walked from the football field, coming up on basketball courts in this area in Flatbush called the Parade Grounds. You could hear the music playing, people all up on the fence, the girls, the game was hype. I was like, I want to do that. That was my thing. So freshman year of high school, I didn't even try for team. I looked at it and I said, you know what? I need to just develop. I need to get better. So I developed myself just watching games, going to camps, and just focusing on fundamentals, shooting, all the things that most kids weren't doing. So I was working on. Sophomore year came around, and I started on varsity. So for me, that was one of the things I realized about myself is that I could teach myself anything. So from there on, I went to JUCO, played JUCO ball, ended up at Oregon State for about a week, and I went home because this was 1990, so it wasn't like we had access to cell phones, video phones. It was a lonely thing. It was born out there, and one of the guys who I was supposed to go to school with, a guy named Ernest Killiam, he passed. Well, he had a stroke, and I didn't think he was gonna come to school there. So I was like, man, I'm going home. I went home to New York. He still went back to school, and he ended up passing that season.
Oh,
So I was kind of down about that. My
yeah.
parents was like, "You got to get out of New York. You ain't doing the right thing." So I went to a school in Milledgeville, Georgia, with one of my guys I grew up with at Georgia College. It was a D2. I really didn't want to play there, so I just worked on my game. I went home every summer and would play in the pro-ams and put up big numbers, 30, 40, whatever. But then I messed my knee up. So story goes, I moved to Atlanta and started training one of my best friends. And he was playing for the USBL. And people started seeing me training him. And they started saying, hey, can you teach me how to do that move or teach me this or teach me that? And it culminated with me training and developing a kid named Jameson Brewer, who I met at 13, and he ended up being like a second round pick in 2001. So with the Indiana Pacers or whatever, that was my first pro. And from there on, I've worked with I worked with DeMar DeRozan, a couple times, Ty Lawson, Ryan Harrow, Kevin Knox, um, Jordan Poole just recently. There's so many guys. And it's funny because I don't like to name drop as much because I feel like as a trainer, you should be in the background, and the stage is more set for, your player. Like back in the days, I would buy the CDs or whatever just so I could see who the producers of the song were. You know what I'm saying? They got paid. Nobody really knew what they looked like, and
Word.
but they were part of the process. So I've always loved being part of the process. Last year, Jalen Green, number 2 pick in the draft, was one of the big names that I worked with or whatever. And even with him, I didn't put out any video of him, even though that's the thing to do now. is to put out video of who you're training, so it gives you credibility or whatever. I was like, no thanks. I want this to be a personal thing. I want it to be something that's intimate, because I want to teach guys, not just teach them other people's moves. Let's create your moves and your movements. And I want to put that on film. I always feel like it gives somebody an advantage. Like, we never saw Michael Jordan's workouts. Like, we heard of his workouts. We really don't. We just really started seeing LeBron's workouts in the last few years or whatever. I don't know, and I think he did that also to create clout. To create followers on social media, whatever. Me, I'm just not interested in that. So the reputation I have is known by the GMs, head coaches, a lot of agents, and a lot of kids, a lot of players are finding out too, and they're hitting me up. Matter of fact, this summer I didn't even have enough time to train everyone, so it was a really busy summer for me. But no, this
That's
is my
good.
love. This is
Business
my
is
passion.
good.
Yeah, business is good. It's just a little too good. You know what I'm saying? Like, currently
No
right
such
now, I
thing.
work with a kid who's, I mean, time, time, because I don't want to just take on a guy for a week. I want a long commitment from those guys because so I can really develop them. There's no one that has the answers. It's about movement. It's a lot of things. It's a mental thing with kids, players. Once they lose it mentally, they'll never get it back. So trying to find that mm, that secret sauce, that one thing that makes them go, or figure out if they need to hop into their shot, or they need to step into their shot, or it's little things that a lot of times NBA coaches, trainers, they never see. And then I come in and I'm like, oh, that's easy, just fix that, and they'll shoot better. So for me, that's really important.
Cool. Justin, I have a tendency to just talk, so I don't want to monopolize the mic. I don't know if you had
No,
anything.
you good.
So all right. So I'm just curious, what part of BK are you from?
Flatbush.
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 Okay. How long you been out of New York?
Wow. I left New York in '87 when I graduated, moved to LA. I was here from '87 to '91. First probably year and a half, I didn't even go to school. My parents afforded me a lifestyle where I could move out and kind of, find myself, because I had an injury before my senior year, and I just wanted to figure out who I was. I was 17 years old, and I moved out here. I had an aunt out here, I had cousins out here, so I have a lot of family in LA as well. So once I started playing ball, it was cool. I was happy. But yeah, I've been out there since '87. Go back and forth periodically. But then I moved to the South in '91, and I just left there last year. So I was there for. So I got like 3 passports. Because
I
I was
was
coming
curious
back
because the accent isn't so thick, but I hear it at times. So I'm like, how long you been out of New York?
Try to hide it. Being in New York is a good and bad thing. Sometimes, are you New Yorkers? Are you New York dudes?
Be
You hear
like,
that
word
all
up,
the
we're
time.
mad dope. Don't hate. That's what you gotta
Yeah.
say.
But then my family's West Indian, so it's
Oh,
like there's different accents that
which
come and
West
go.
Indian country?
Guyana.
Oh, you're Guyanese, Jamaican here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. All right. So, how did you end up coming to work with Jordan? And are you guys still working together?
Yeah. We worked this summer, and we might do some work during the season. This is a big year for him. He's getting to the point where he's, trying to make the All-Star team. He definitely wants to secure a big contract, for his future. Jordan and I met through one of the agents that I deal with, a guy named Andrew Marson. He's a lead agent for CAA, and I've done good work with CAA in the past. Like, I've gotten clients that were on their last legs and need to get back in the league, or guys who are up for a new contract or whatever, and they give me them that summer, and they always had like the best years of their career the following year or whatever. So They kind of trusted me. They said Jordan is, talented, but he was, with the Golden State Warriors, either you're in or you're out. So he's back and forth with the G League. Even though he probably deserved to play more, he was still back and forth. So when I got him, we kind of struck up a relationship that was different because Jordan is kind of crazy. Jordan is a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Jordan is a guy that will come in with the glasses, with the hat on, with the sweats rolled up and be like, "What's up, coach?" And he'll come and he's playing music that nobody's ever heard before. And, he's just a different soul. He's an old soul. He's an amazing young man.
Okay.
What were you said you worked with him last summer as well as this past summer, right?
Yes. Last summer, we was in there for about 3 months. Yeah, last summer, that pandemic summer, whatever, where it was big. So we got to change a lot of movements that he had. His shot has always been his shot, but it got better. We increased the range on his shot. For me, I was just glad that he trusted me with, working with him, especially such a pivotal summer for him. It's going to be important for him to be able to come right in and contribute because Clay, his timeline was a little. They didn't really know when he was going to come back, so they sent one of the assistant coaches from Golden State up for a week, guy Chris, and he watched us work. I watched him work a little bit, and I kind of got an understanding of what they were looking for. I think last year we worked kind of like 80-20. It was like 80% Golden State stuff and 20% Jordan stuff. And with the handle stuff, it was a lot of work, but not enough. And I feel like this summer we got a lot into it. We got more creative. So I've known Jordan I knew of him since he was in high school. And he's always been a scorer. He's been a long distance, shooter, scorer. You never really saw his handle play a lot. So when I realized he had that talent, we really pushed it. We really touched on it last year, rather. And this year we kind of pushed it. He's got a lot of things in his bag. I think he has too many things in his bag. And it's going to be funny to see how he's able to just bring it out on court, make it translate, because it's all reactionary. Instead of him having moves where he's automatically in his head, I'm going to do this move. A lot of stuff we worked on was reactionary stuff, and it's special. So this should be an exciting year. Exciting, really exciting.
Got you. I was definitely going to ask, how do you toe that line between allowing him to blossom with his creativity, but also kind of structure and not go too far off script with the workouts and the plan that you have for him?
Well, Jordan is really smart. And I always tell people, man, I don't really take credit for his success. I give him the credit for his success because, as a trainer, you can want to teach someone a certain move or movement or whatever. But if it doesn't fit within the offense that he's playing in, because in that offense, you got 2 seconds to either dribble or dribble, shoot, or get off the ball. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to see 2 plays ahead. You have to understand what the defense is going to be. So we worked on a lot of moves in certain areas of the court where he was going to be. And that was the challenging thing, because if we're trying to create a new movement, we have to figure out what moves feels good to him. So, all right, we'll go ahead with an in and out. Okay, the defender's going to step up here because he wants to keep you on the sideline. So we're going to step hard this way. Do you feel comfortable with a front cross, strong between the legs, or a back under that lead leg? You know what I'm saying? And then go into your shot. So we'd work on each movement and see what feels the best. And then the one that feels the best, or the movements that feel the best, will more focus on them. But I know their offense pretty well. So we always knew what spots to work on, how much time he had when he got the ball in his hands. And also just like what's too much. Because you don't want to do too much. And you never want to train a player to kind of go against what the team is doing. And with them, it's all about quick hitters. And I think last year when he came back to the team, they didn't realize how good of a ball handler he had turned into. So they gave him more point guard responsibilities, which is why you see him making those passes. I don't think he ever knew he could pass that good. He tells me I've always been a passer. I've always been a playmaker. I'm like, I never seen it, but last year I saw it, and to me, that's the talent. That's talent right there. Everybody has potential. Everybody has potential. But the talent is when you give somebody, I can give 10 people the same thing, but that person that can manipulate that thing I give them, that can reverse engineer it and make it their own, that's the person that's talented, that's truly talented, and that's Jordan. So the best is yet to come with him. Like, there's no telling what moves he's going to pull off this year because even with the preseason games, I know their legs were dead, they were tired, the time difference was crazy. So it was a different experience for them. They just were out there playing hard. The younger guys were actually playing hard than the guys going to play more time. But I could see him trying new things. His hesitation has gotten crazier because he's so much stronger. He spent so much time in the weight room this year. We come into workouts sometimes, he'd be like, I'm dying right now. So if you look at his body, he's a lot bigger, especially up top. Like, totally, he's bigger, stronger this year.
Nice.
So what should we be looking forward to or expecting? I know you don't want to reveal too much to us, but like what areas of his game, I heard you talking about handle, but like what should Warriors fans be looking forward to for this season from Jordan?
I know one thing I definitely could tell you is expect him to battle Steph for the free throw shooting crown of the NBA. Because I called him, I was like, yeah. I said, I saw in playoffs, yeah, Steph, when y'all both was in the game, you saw who went shoot them free throws, right? Even though you're the reigning champ. It's like, yeah. Steph told me, yeah, I need to win a few more of those before I can shoot those free throws when he's on court. And I was like, hey, so let's go. Let's go. So that's a challenge. And it's simple. It's crazy because how many teams have we ever seen where you had the number one and number two free throw shooting guys on your team? And they have to look at each other like, you gonna let me get this one? And Steph's like, I don't care if you're the champ. I'm the greatest of all time. So I'm gonna these free throws. And you said that with a look, not with the words. It's like, come on, bro.
Facts.
So that'll be a battle. It'll be funny to see if Steph even lets him shoot any at all this season when he's on the court. So that's a funny little battle to look at right there for fans. I mean, I think they're going to be more productive this year as a team. This is a veteran team now, so look for the younger guys to try to play a bigger role than they played last year. Definitely Moody. He was in the gym almost every time I saw. I went to the facility. I like Witherspoon. I like him because I've known him when he was at Mississippi State, and then he was G League with the Knicks franchise for a while. He's an amazing scorer.
Big fans of Quinn over here.
DiVincenzo. Yeah, like you have a talented bench, and they're a young talented bench. Like if you look at the Clippers have an old talented bench. These guys have a young talented bench. So they're still trying to carve their way out, in this league. But I expect to see some blowout games and them older dudes sitting down earlier, in the games. I mean, I'll be shocked if Steph Curry plays over 32 minutes a game this year. And the same thing with Clay. Yeah. So, I mean, the smart thing is to save them for the playoffs because if you're going to run a dynasty, if you're really taking a page out of the Chicago Bulls, you want to play, get that blowout going, and let the young boys come in and take over.
Yeah, I said a lot of the same things. It's like kind of like going into that 2016 season after 2015 when they won the first one, and they were kind of like on a mission to kind of prove that the championship wasn't a fluke, so they were just destroying everybody. I think it'll be a similar vibe this year. I think this team is deeper than that team was, at least talent-wise. A lot of the guys are younger than that team had, but like you said, so many gifted scorers that can do so many different things on the bench. And then obviously the starting five plus Jordan is already chock full of top-end talent. So, I definitely think it's going to be a lot of blowouts, a lot of like early fourth quarter sitting, starters, that type of
on
deal.
court. A lot of laughing off court, a lot of cheering, a lot of towel waving, a lot of whoop that trick being played.
Hey!
For sure.
Still look back at that right there as the most disrespectful on both sides. First of all, we losing and he's dancing, but he's also saying, have fun now, because we're gonna be the ones dancing at the end of it. Like when you're a veteran, you're a vet in the NBA, and you're that confident. It's a different thing. It's a different feeling to know, like, I know we're gonna win. Like, you think about it, he put his reputation and everything on the line by doing that. Because had they lost the series, everybody would have pointed to that and said, "Get rid of Draymond. Look, he's not serious. Look, he's dancing. Well, we should be mad and focused." But no, he was confident. You know, and it bothers me sometimes people don't respect what he has brought to that team and done for the game of basketball. Like, he has coaches thinking like, okay, I need to get a guy that can defend, has a high IQ, you know, and, you know, has the length or whatever. I need to draft guys like this. So you see a guy like Herb Jones in New Orleans, you know, second team all defense coming off the bench or whatever. Now I think you got to start him. You got to start him at the 2. He'll lock up whatever great offensive player you have on the other side. High IQ kid. You know, I think this is going to be a trend that's going to lead to more teams drafting guys like him if they want to win. So I love that about that team. I love that about Draymond.
I know you said you see like Moody in the you know, getting work in a lot. You have any thoughts on Pat Baldwin Jr.?
Pat Baldwin Jr. is crazy because in high school he was always a top 5 kid. At one point, he was number 1 in his class early on. But if I'm being honest, I personally never saw the kid do what they said he was going to do. I never saw him drop 20 or 30 in games because he always played up. So that kind of like is a detriment sometimes when you play up, because when you play up, playing up means he's 14 years old playing on a 17 and under team. So sometimes he's playing with guys 2 and 3 years older than him. So what that does is you never get to be the alpha male during that season because you're always like taking your cues from the older guys. Those guys are trying to get scholarships, you know, and you're just a complimentary player, but a really good complimentary player. So you see him score 12 points, 14 points, 8 points, and his team is winning and having success, but you never saw him truly live up to the expectations. And I think we saw that in college. He played for his dad. It didn't go as well. He got injured or whatever, and it was smart for him not to come back, mess up his draft chances or whatever. But I think he'll be a great fit because if you look at his size, his length, and so forth, in high school, people always compared him to Klay Thompson. So I think he'll get a chance to be tutored by Klay Thompson, to play in a system that fits him. He's not a big, I'm going to cross you over, step back, you know, fade away. He's a shooter, you know, and if he can learn to be a professional shooter, because that's what you're hired to be in the NBA at that height, that skill set, I think he'll have a long career. He should shock some people because people aren't really expecting that much from him. But if he can continue to be that he can be that perfect role player off the bench that they need, don't turn the ball over, be solid on defense because he's got great length, have a high IQ, which he's always been a high IQ kid. He's just another great piece for an organization that is going to be rebuilding in the next 3 to 4 years.
So I'm curious, this is a question for both of you, because, and of course, no matter what we say, like people always are going to overreact to preseason, right? But I think with Baldwin, he wasn't really expected to like be in the rotation this season, you know, but do you think there's a chance he could work his way into the rotation? Because like he had a pretty positive showing in the games they played, like over in the Japan games.
I don't
whoever wants to
necessarily.
take it first. I don't care. And maybe not in the rotate. I mean, I know that if it's Steve Kerr, he's gonna just find at some point put him on the court because that's Kerr. But like, do you think there's anything that he offers that he could actually like, even if it's like at the back end of the rotation, like work his way in? I'm curious because I have no clue.
I mean, Steve Kerr is notorious for playing 10 guys. Trying to get 10 guys some play. Because now I'm going to be developing 2 to 3 guys for playoff run. He did that with Kuminga last year, threw him in the starting lineup a few times. He did that with Moody. For him, development is everything. You got to think about it. This team became a great team through the draft. Those guys were drafted there. They figured out Steve Kerr created a new culture for them. And, I think Baldwin's the perfect fit. I see him in a 10-man rotation. I don't see him early in games. I don't think he's seasoned enough to be early, like 6th man or 7th man. But I definitely see him as 10th man because let's think about who they have on the bench that's coming off the bench. Wiseman, and that's going to be funny because should they start Wiseman? Probably, but can they start him? And who they start him over? Then you have Witherspoon, you have Moody, you have Kuminga, you have Baldwin, you have Iggy still. I think he's going to be more of a player coach rather
Dante. Them do different.
DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo. So that's 11 guys right there. So that's what I'm saying. This is going to be a fun season. So I don't know that he gets early time. There's no rush though. So if I'm drafting him at that position, I'm not really expecting him to do anything for a couple years. I'm expecting him to just be a great rookie, and learn the system, and be somebody they won't be able to pay in 3 to 4 years like they do with everybody else. 'Cause this system is crazy. You drafting guys and you can't pay them when they actually flourish. Because Jordan should, if things were perfect in a perfect world, Jordan would get 5 years, 188. But how do they do that when they're already $275 million in the luxury tax? How do you do that? So this is a curious thing, and the rules going to have to change because, if Golden State is the only team that's really taking advantage of their draft and they're developing their players correctly, but then it comes to a point where they can't pay them, like how is that fair to them? Because Baldwin's going to be in that situation.
Yeah, definitely preaching to the choir. Because with Baldwin, with Jordan, Jordan's his contract is he'll get his within the next year or so. But like, Baldwin, Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody, their rookie deals are going to be done within the next 2 to 3 years, and it's going to be their time to get paid. And who knows how much Steph will still be making? Who knows how much all these guys still going to be making? And it's just wrong that you spend all this time investing into their development, and then you essentially either have to let them walk or you have to pay an unprecedented amount of money to keep them. And it's like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But hopefully then within the next 2 years, they make a change to that because it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I want to respond to what you just said. Yeah, let me do that first, and then I'm going to go back. So yeah, like I truly just don't care about billionaires and their money. Like I'm like, pay it, like I know, because like with the Warriors, because they've drafted all those guys, most of them, they actually can like do it, right? Like a lot of other teams, it's a little different, but they can. It's just a matter if they want to like go into like and just pay an exorbitant amount of taxes. Or whatever else comes with it. I don't even know but I just don't care. I'm like, well, just pay it. Like you're making mad money off the backs of these guys. So I just don't have much empathy. Now, with that being said, I know that they won't do that. So, but I feel like they're somewhat committed to the youth movement. So I feel like if they do put all that work into those guys and, they turn out to be what we all think they could be or what the team is expecting, I feel like outside of Steph, I could be wrong, but I think they're gonna move on from like some of the more older guys. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Lacob, it's hard to say, right? Like if they win again, and it's hard because it's one thing to say like I'm always gonna do what's right for the team and whatever, but then like when you build a dynasty and if you win that many championships, like it's hard to just like let people leave. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Warriors, but like I feel like they've kind of made it clear they're somewhat committed to the youth movement. So I don't know. I just don't see them. I don't see Lacob as the kind of owner who's going to be like giving out long contracts or paying a lot of money for like the older guys. I guess that's what I'm kind of thinking, but I could be totally wrong.
But think about it now. Okay, I'm looking at Steph's contract. It runs out the last year is 25, 26.
Steph's going to be the only one. I leave him out of it because Steph is going to get whatever he wants, most likely. But I'm talking about like Dre. Like, I think people are expecting like Dre and Clay to just continue. And I don't think that those two are going to be treated the same as Stephen, but I could be wrong.
Now, so is there a Splash Brother without one of the brothers? You know what I'm saying? You got to look at how Clay is looking at things. Clay is looking at like, hold on, it's not just Steph. Like, I was a steady pillar to build this organization to where they are right now. Like, Steph, Dre, and Clay could literally say, we built this building for y'all.
For
with
sure.
these championships and so forth. And, it's so funny because when players want to leave teams, right, they get treated so bad when they want to be traded by the fans, by the media, and it starts with the media. The media, puts it out there. The team will leak it, always leak it, or he wants to be traded. Then the fans like, oh, man, you want to be traded? Oh, man, we don't like you no way. Whatever, get out of here. But when the teams want to trade them or whatever, it's like nobody gets down on the organization. So that's always been a funny dynamic. So when I look at those three guys should retire as Golden State Warriors. They should retire. They should retire like honesty. Like just like Kobe retired as a Laker, but it's crazy because there's very few superstars that stayed with one team and retired as that person. I mean, Jordan, of course, but then he came back.
For sure. But Kobe retired as a Laker, but not like and I get it, all those guys weren't drafted, but like it wasn't Kobe and Shaq together, right? There were different iterations, just like Dwayne Wade was like sort of the main guy for the Heat. That's what I'm saying. Like, even though he left and he came back, but like, I guess what I'm saying is like, even though there's a core, and I agree with you, I think it's a beautiful story if the three of them retired together. Let's look at like someone like Andre, for example, right? Like, I get that he's like probably just like a notch down lower in terms of like not being a part of the core, but he is in ways, right? Like when he came back, like he wanted to get more than the vet minimum. They were like, nah. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're going to be like, walk, leave. But what I'm saying is they don't strike me as the kind of people that are like, yep, we're just going to max you out again and pay you all the money. Remember, they paid Clay, maxed him out while he had an injury. So he already kind of got that from them for 2 years, which is not his fault. But like while he was like injured, that they were paying him full. So I don't see it, but I could be wrong. But I just feel like all the steps that they're taking are showing you like how invested they are in the youth movement. And like at the end of the day, those guys behind them, I don't think it's just like about money, but they're going to get to a point where they're like, I want more playing time, and they should feel like that. Like it's the natural cycle. They're going to want to like play and not just be behind other guys learning. So look, it's a good position to be in, but I'd be really shocked if like for the next round for Dre. I mean, we're gonna know soon because Dre's the next one up. But like if they're just gonna be like, hey, Max, all the money in the world, like I don't know. But what do you think, Justin?
I think the Warriors organization for sure is thinking how you're thinking. And is like, okay, they're getting older. You know, eventually they're not going to be all-star starting on a championship team caliber players, and that may be sooner than those players themselves want to acknowledge. But I do think that those players do know that they're not 25 anymore. You know what I mean? I think both Clay and Dre, well, Dre for sure, I think he wants long-term security. Like, you know, just give me a good, respectable deal over the remainder of what I consider to be my prime, maybe the next 3 or 4 years. And then, you know, I'll probably retire as a Warrior, right? If they completely lowball him and just offer him something crazy low, I think he would then consider leaving, but I don't think he really wants to leave or is even entertaining the thought.
What do you
And I
think
think
that
Clay,
number is for Dre over 3 or 4
Mm,
years?
I think it's
mm.
somewhere around 25 to 30 mil a year, maybe. And I think it's like if they structure it to where he gets most of that money up front, and then it's one of those deals where like it goes from 33 to 31 to 29 to 27. You know what I'm saying? As he gets older, the per year number goes down. Same with Clay. I think it would make sense based on like the money and based on just performance and what you expect from him as that player. And I think if they structure like maybe if they bring Wiggins back and if they extend Jordan, then if they have their contracts ascending, you know what I mean, it makes more sense money wise. So they all together kind of average out to around 30 something million a year, but they all might not be making 30 million a year in that specific year. I think it should look like that. Ideally, it would look like that. Um, yeah, I don't think Clay wants to leave in there. He said he only wants to play for Steve Kerr, you know, so I just I don't know. I think they're gonna retire as Warriors, but it just
Dead serious about that.
Oh, I
yeah,
agree. I just don't think like I think at like some point they'll have to come to wraps with like
yeah, it's gonna be a
they're not the
crossroads
guys anymore and like
for
pass
sure.
that torch. Like Steph is gonna remain the guy, but
Yeah,
they may not. Like they'll always have like that. Like it's always gonna be like, oh, they're the core and the fanfare, and they mean everything, but like you might mean everything coming off the bench. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. And if there's a coach that's equipped to handle a situation like that, I do think it's Steve, considering he went through the whole second iteration of the Bulls dynasty, and he was with the Spurs, you know, where he wasn't with them when Timmy got old, but like Timmy and Manu and Tony, they all kind of like realized, all right, we're getting a little bit older, but you know, Kawhi's the next up. You know, Danny Green started playing a little bit more. He started over Manu. Patty Mills came into his own, stuff like that. I think they kind of rode off into the sunset, even though Tony ended up going to Charlotte for that one weird year. I didn't understand that, but I think he understands and they understand. They understand, like, yeah, we're getting up there in age. It's time for these young dudes to kind of carry the torch and continue the dynasty as long as we can, you know, keep it going. Or at least I hope that's
Um,
what they're thinking.
so let's think about this though. Let's think about um the fact that, you know, with first of all, there's a new CBA that's about to come out, and that's in 2025. Well, actually, new TV money starts in 2025. And the salaries are going to be doubled. So I think right now the TV money is like at 40 something billion. Well, I think 43 billion or something like that. It's 45 billion. I think it's projected that the TV money will be around 75 to 79 billion dollars. So that almost doubles the salary cap for each team. So if the guys can be patient, they can still get nice payoffs. Let's talk about the fact that I think for Draymond and Clay, and it's against NBA rules and policies, whatever. But those guys get advantages by being friends with these billionaires. You know what I'm saying? They get, you know, whatever goes on. Hey, you can use the house in this spot, or you can, hey, let me give you this, hook you up with this guy business wise, whatever. They love being in Golden State for certain reasons. You know, I think They take advantage of the tech startup companies. All of them have amazing investments in a lot of tech companies out there. That's one of the things Kevin Durant talked about. He bought 2 floor seats so that his business manager could bring a potential partner or, garner a new endorsement for him, by sitting in, front row watching the games or whatever. So I think these guys really want to finish up. And the way the collective bargaining agreement was structured, it was structured so that guys who are later in their careers could get that last big payout contract, which is what Chris Paul got a few years ago. And people have to remember, he was, LeBron and then Chris Paul. Those guys were big in the players' union. You know what I'm saying? They were president or vice president or whatever. So they fought for that. So these guys were a part of it. Clay and Draymond, I think they want to get their big send-off bag as well, which, they look at like what Draymond's making, 20-something million. He signed 4 years for 99. I don't see anything wrong with Draymond getting another 4 years, 120, and him being okay with it. Or is it a 4 years? I don't know. Like, what makes you happy if you have 4 championship rings and you're possibly going to get a 5th, like what happened? And then see, he's on a contract this year, but then next year he's an unrestricted free agent and he will only be making 27 million. So for someone that's a potential 5-time champion, if they win this year, that's going to be rough. That's going to be rough. But then also we have to look at age. I think Draymond will be, he's kind of young. He's 33 by the time this contract is over. I can see him playing well, being a leader on that team until he's about 37, 38-ish, because now you have a rim protector in Wiseman that they've been developing, I just think they should get their money. I just don't know what that money looks like, because they have such a big salary cap. They have such a big load, and I agree with you, Nat. These owners, they're billionaires. I'm
3
never
guys ain't getting a big send-off package. I tell you that. Like, that's just, they're not doing that.
Hey, so if it's 2 guys, and which 2 you? Who do you? Okay, pressure. Now I'm interviewing you, Nat. Let's go. All right. If you could only pick one out of Draymond and Clay,
I already told. Oh, listen, I don't even
tell me. Tell me.
I think it's only one of them, and that's Steph. I think they're all gonna stay.
No. Steph's staying. I'm saying between Dre and Clay.
I think all 3 are staying. What I'm saying is, I think on some level, the Warriors are going to look at it like, Clay, when you were gone for 2 years, we still paid you. Like, you kind of owe us back to, like, I'm not saying he should, but I don't know. I'm totally guessing. But like, when Steph wants a no trade clause and they're like, no, when the owner is like, should we definitely max Stephen Curry? Like, when the owner has the audacity to ask a question like that, this is not the kind of man who's just going to be nostalgic and be like, yep.
Steph doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract?
No, they would not give it to him. And they were like, are we sure we should definitely max him? Like, this is what I'm saying. So this is not an owner who's going to be like, yeah, man, love the trio.
Savage.
Let me just pay them all the money in the world. And like Dre's representation is clutch. So they're always going to try to get him the most money. But like, you also got to be realistic about what Dre is going to command on the market across the league, right? Like Clay, because of his shooting, will probably still command a little bit more. But yeah, I think they'll get nice contracts. And like, to me, what will be nice, but I don't know that they're going to get like these, we're just going to give you these like great packages because of all you've done. I just don't see the Warriors operating like that. So I just think that there will be real negotiations around their deals. But I think obviously they know the importance of these guys to the organization. And I think their number one goal will be to aim to keep them. But like Bob Myers had the recent comments, which were to my delight, when he said like they're also trying to keep Andrew Wiggins, right? Because everyone's been talking about Andrew Poole, and it's like we all know they're gonna like go for Poole. So we just thought like Andrew might be the odd person out, even though I think now most Warriors fans wanted to keep Andrew. But for him to kind of go on record and state that, right? And I talked about this a little bit on my last episode, like him saying that, I don't think is saying like, sure, we're just going to pay all the taxes and be good. But I think what they're saying is like, look, they're really committed to trying to keep Andrew. And so I think that means whether it's Andrew or whoever, like as they're thinking about these things, it's going to be asking certain guys to make concessions or I don't know, whatever it will be. But I think Tyler Hero just set the market, right, for Poole. So what did he get? 140?
Yeah.
He got 130.
130.
130.
Over how many years?
4.
4.
Yeah. I think personally they should extend
I
Jordan
saw
and
that
Dre.
and I started doing flips. But at how much? No, you gotta talk money. No, Justin, you can't just say that. You gotta talk money, Justin. Tell me numbers. Because that's what the issue is. It's a number issue.
For sure. I would give Dre somewhere around like 4 years, 110, 115. You know what I mean? Kind of around the 30 million range, maybe a little bit under there. I would give Jordan at least the Hero number. You know what I mean? 4 years, 130, maybe 5 years, 150. You know what I mean? Like just give him more money, but more years as well. Maybe 5 years, 170, something like that. You know, something that's in the 30s in that range. And then with Andrew, since he's unrestricted, you can have him sign a 1+1 because Clay is making 40 million, for the remainder of his contract. And then maybe you give him like 20 something mil.
That's
because
what I was
Clay's
thinking.
making so much.
Like they may not commit. I'm sorry. Right. They may not commit to Andrew long term, right? But is that gonna be okay for him? Like he may want a long, I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely run the risk of getting that 1+1. You run the risk of like, what if I get injured and they don't want to give me the money that they promised before I signed this 1+1? But I think that's the best course of action for the team to do, just because you kind of, that 1 year where you would be really hit by that tax before the TV money comes in, you can kind of avoid that by giving Andrew a lower than his market value deal and then pay him on the back end once the money increases. But again, you got to the player has to be willing to commit to that, because like I said, you run that risk of maybe getting injured or not having as good a year as you thought, and then your value goes down. So I don't know. I think there's ways they can navigate it, but I'm definitely team pay them their value. I think Jordan is 30+ million in value. I think at least for the near future, Draymond is around 30 million in value. And so is Wiggins and Clay. They're all kind of like in that same range where they offer different things to the team, but it's at any given moment, they can be the second best, the best player on the court next to Steph. You know what I mean? Like they all had their various moments in the playoffs where they had their specific game where they shined. So they're all near max level players and they should be compensated, accordingly.
And I just want to make it clear for the record that I agree with that, because I think people who know me or listen to me regularly or follow me know that, but I'm not here advocating for the billionaires, okay? But the team has shown me enough to kind of know how they think. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think the whole thought process is if the tax gets too high, then the team itself will be no longer making a profit. They'll lose more money than they're bringing in. But I personally don't but I understand, you know what I mean? But I don't really care about his pockets, but yeah, I get the rationale.
Sorry, I'm just here finishing chewing my chips, which are not good for me, but I haven't eaten all day. So, talking to 2 trainers. Oh Lord. Anyway, don't judge me, guys. Gentlemen, this has been a lovely conversation. There was so much other stuff I wanted to get in with you today, Mark, that we didn't, but I think Justin and I definitely would love to have you back on during the season. So
let me know. And I'll be in the office next time. You know what I'm saying? You might have some dogs barking, but I'll be in the office.
Cool. Thank
No,
you so much
I
for
love the
your time.
conversation. I love it. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I like Justin, like you guys.
So
So
you don't like
we
me,
can have
just
some
Justin?
good. I said you guys. I love you guys.
I only
You
heard
my
Justin's
girl.
name though.
You
That's funny.
hey. You're already like you're secure. You know what I'm saying? You're secure.
Am I? Okay,
Anything
thank
you need from me, I got you.
I got 2 hoopers fucking with me. All right, I'm doing good. No, seriously, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you. Just tell me really quickly what you're looking forward to the most for this season.
Ooh. I'm just looking forward to seeing these guys have fun. I like the games the most when, like I talked about earlier, the team is winning. The starters and the guys that play the most are on the bench cheering on the young guys. That's the part of the game I love to see more than anything. For Jordan, I definitely would love to see him make the All-Star team. Of course, it'll be a fan vote type of thing. I think he's garnered that kind of fandom that he could skin there and be an All-Star.
Very tough in the West.
It's crazy. He gained 1 million followers on Twitter in 1 year. 1 million. Like more than 1 million. That's like 1.3 million followers. So his popularity is going crazy. And yes, but I really think he can sneak in there because remember, we didn't think Andrew Wiggins could be a starter. It was like, wait a minute, where did he come from?
Yeah,
and then
but
guys got
Wiggins
injured.
right. I mean, Wiggins got the benefit of
Paul George.
Again, let me say that again, that I'm a Andrew Wiggins stan, if anyone is unclear. Right, Justin? Can you let the people know I'm not fronting about this, right?
For sure. Definitely.
I love me some Andrew Wiggins. So no one was happier to see Andrew as all-star than me. But I also know that he had some things sort of work out in his favor that helped aided that. But Warriors fans, like, they got Poole. So like we gonna be voting for him. So that ain't the issue, but he's gonna have to really have like a really great year. Cause I mean, who are the guards he's competing with in the West? You got Steph on his team. They're still putting Luka at the guard position, right? You got Ja. You got so you got Ja, you got Luka, you got Steph, you have Dame who's coming back. So we don't know who did you say?
Devin Booker.
He gets kind of like played though sometimes. So
I think he
got
Clay who wants to it's just gonna be that guard is gonna be like interesting in the West. But I would love to see Poole like make an all-star.
Yeah. Because I think how many players do they take in each position? I think it's what 3. Is it 3 players in each position?
No.
A minimum of 4 guards, but a maximum of 6 guards.
Yeah, because like they do it like literally by actual position. So
they do backcourt and front court now, I think.
Do they? But yeah, so the backcourt players is only 4 total, right? Like starting and then if they put them on as a reserve,
it's just guards and front court.
But the reserves are competing with that could be any position.
Yeah.
And the media still has like an obsession with Chris Paul. So like if the Suns are like at the top of the West again and they're doing really good. Look, Chris Paul does not deserve to be an all-star, right? Like, so let's be clear that I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the media has an obsession with him. So, I mean, with the way that the Suns went out, maybe like they'll pipe down a little bit this season. But if the Suns are like at the top of the West or up there and winning and all of that, like Chris Paul might be in the conversation, and we should just be prepared for that.
And I mean, the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards might be in there too because he's a monster, and they might win enough games.
But with his recent statements, I don't know how that's going to go over with some of the media. So let's see. He might have to regain. He might have to regain, get back in good graces. It's going to be interesting to watch how that unfolds this season.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of work to do before he can get that kind of voting because I think he offended a lot of people. But he's such a special talent. I've been watching since he was 10 years old, 9 years old. Like he's amazing talent. So yeah, it should be interesting. I think the top three guys, Steph, Ja, and Luka. I think if Jordan is to make it, he's got to get that fourth spot. That means he got to beat out Devin Booker. You know, that's what I'm looking at. But we're thinking big, man. We're thinking big. You're always positive over here. So it's just a challenge.
We have no problem with Poole being an all-star.
All I'm gonna say, check the numbers. When Jordan and Booker is matched up in the last like 2 seasons, he's been giving Book the business. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm not gonna make any statements, but
I can't talk negatively about
Poole
either
can
one of
handle
them.
double teams.
Oh man. See, and it's crazy because Book is like family. You know, Devin Book is like family. Me and his father are real close. I've been messing with him since high school. So these are just good things, you know. And it's crazy because his dad wants me to go work with him this season. I'm just like, oh man, all right, you know. But still, you know, that's just amazing. It's amazing.
Can you tell me why he put
it.
up that LeBron picture after losing a game? Because that was sort of silly. Do you know what I'm talking about? The LeBron post game. After they lost to who's the team they lost to, Justin?
They lost to I think Adelaide 36ers or something like that.
Yeah, in the preseason game. So you know the clip of LeBron from Miami where he basically tells all of us we broke and he gonna still be rich.
He put that picture up.
People were coming.
Okay, that was it. That was the statement right there without saying a word.
No, I know, but people were coming for the Suns after they lost to that team, and I guess Book. So I'm like, come on, bro. Like, this is a preseason game. It's not that serious. Is he sensitive?
And that, I mean, he light skinned. He light skinned. So
no, we don't. We love the light skins on this show.
No. Let me finish. He light skinned, so he might be a little sensitive. But the difference is nowadays if you're sensitive. No, listen. When you're, I'm sensitive. I'm a Cancer.
Okay.
I'm sensitive as hell.
But we're not. Light skins are not sensitive because they're light skinned. But go ahead.
No, but I'm saying if he's sensitive, what it does is it makes him go hard. Like that's what it triggers in him. So I'm sensitive. So if you say something that offends me, like I'm at your throat, and that's how Devin Booker is.
But bro,
so that's what I'm saying.
They lost a
preseason
game.
Like these are the attacks. Yeah, but still, these. You know what's crazy?
They gonna get clowned. You lost to the. Who are they? What's their name again?
So. The 36ers, not even the 76ers, the 36ers. But I'm just saying, like people like they're human beings. If somebody cracks a joke on you, even if you're at a comedy show and you got front row seats, and front row seats cost $1,500, they crack a joke on you, your girl is fine, you rich, you still feel some kind of way, like, man, you don't stop talking about me, I'm gonna beat you up. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I can see him being sensitive about that. And LeBron was sensitive when he you know what? That put a chink in the armor for LeBron for me when he did that. And I was like, you know what? Because I used to go into the summers angry or happy, depending on if my team won a championship. Every year until he did that. And I thank him for that. He woke me up because it don't matter. Like, I don't care if you win or lose.
You have a team as a trainer?
I'm a longtime New York Knicks fan.
Okay.
Facts, fan. I'm a New York.
So you've been in misery for most of your life.
No. I actually understand us. See, we are the consistent part of basketball that will never change. The Madison Square Garden will always be the mecca of basketball. New York City will always be considered as a basketball city, like the mecca of basketball, whatever. We'll always have that. We just want to have a championship, and it's okay. It's all right. Nobody wants to play in New York. Nobody wants to play in New York. Nobody. You can't get guys to play in New York. You saw what we had to do to get Jalen Brunson? We had to give him all that money.
You could do it through the draft, though.
We never get good draft picks. RJ Barrett was not a... Okay.
All right. We're not going to talk about the Knicks because we rapping. But you were about to say LeBron is like your favorite player. Is that what you were going to say?
He's one of my favorite players. So it's gone Julius Erving, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, in that order in regards to my favorite players. But while Doc was playing, I loved Larry Bird as well. But those three high flyers have been my favorite players. So if they get traded or whatever happens, I follow their team because these teams aren't loyal. They're gonna trade you if they don't like you no more. Think about it. There's no way in the world Patrick Ewing should have been traded anywhere other than New York. He should have never been traded out of New York. He brought basketball back to the Knicks as far as playoff contention. So for me, if the Knicks make the playoffs, that's good enough. And anybody that's a real New York Knicks fan, that's all we care about. Just make it to the playoffs so that we can be looked at as a good franchise. Because they're still the most
value.
what
They
do you
have
call
the
it?
highest value.
The most valuable franchise. Yeah, they're the most valuable franchise for a reason. Like the Cowboys. Cowboys fan understand. Y'all ain't never win another Super Bowl, but y'all the most valuable franchise. You guys can still wear your jerseys wherever you want to. No offense to anybody that's a Cowboy fan on the show. I'm just saying.
Not, man.
But
forget the Cowboys. And I will only show love to New York because I'm from New York and I live here. But you know what?
What part of New York? What part of New York you from?
Me, originally Queens, and I live in Long Island now.
I knew it. I knew it, Queens. I knew it. You one of them girls.
No, because I've lived in other places too. I lived in Florida. I've been around, but we could talk about that off. See, anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, I've, whatever. But I've never been a New York Knicks fan, and I just like always, my exes, whoever, I'm just like, I'll support y'all. I'm here for you, but I don't understand why my people are Knicks fans. But I hear it.
Justin, where you from, Justin?
I'm from DC.
You from DC? Okay. Yeah. I love DC. Got a bunch of guys from there. My man Baby Shaq, White Chocolate, my man Silk. I wanted to add one thing. Those are my guys on tour with me forever. I used to go to the run and shoot back in the days. Yeah, DC.
Did you
man,
watch the doc that came out recently?
I watch every doc.
Okay. All right. We definitely got to have you back on. It's too much to talk about, and you have too much history and knowledge of this game. So we're definitely bringing you back during the season. Thank you so much for coming on, Mark. Justin, any last words from you?
Nah, appreciate the combo. Look out for us, working together in the future if you're listening. And thanks for coming on, Mark.
All right. Next up from us, we're going to be having our preseason preview. I think that's going to be like our next episode, y'all. So stay tuned for that. Take care. Mark, you have a great rest of the day. All right.
Thank you.